Welcome to the London Outlook for Tuesday, the 23rd of January 2024. Starting off with the economic calendar, as you can see, there's no red folder news events today, and thus there's no bearing of economic news on our trading decisions for today. Moving on to the 4-hour, what we can see is we still recently changed character in terms of market structure. We were in a confirmed bullish trend, and now we've recently broke it, leaving us in an uncertain scenario until we have confirmation of a 4H breakout structure to confirm the bearish market trend. Until then, what we can see is that 4H order flow has developed this 4H primary leg from which we can consider longs, and then we've also got the proton unconfirmed OBs from which we can consider shorts. In terms of this morning, what we can see is we recently achieved this 4H substructure target, and thus any longs for the day or for the session are invalid until we come back into this 4H primary OB and then validate the 4H substructure based on the 4H candle body closures. Until then, London session will primarily be about shorting, but there's a couple of factors to consider, and I'll touch on that in the 5 minutes. So the first factor is ensuring that previous session liquidity is liquidated. Given how far Asia has moved, it makes the most sense that the high of Asia is swept, and then we develop the secondary leg to then consider shorts deeper into this primary leg. The other factor to then consider is previous session liquidity. Not previous session liquidity. What I just spoke about will be previous session liquidity. The other factor to consider is the previous high and low of the day. Ideally, what we want is for the secondary leg to develop a chain such that the POI is roughly at or below the previous high or low of the day, and then we'll enter from here and ideally target the last point of IRL, which is that, and ultimately the substructure. However, we can't be oblivious to the fact that once we reach this point, primary legs can be developed from here, or rather secondary legs can be developed from here to then take longs. However, like I said, we will need this 4H substructure high to be validated by 4H candle closures. I guess in conclusion, just to summarize, I just want to clean up the drawings. So in conclusion and to summarize, what I'd like to say is London session is primarily about shorting. There's two factors to consider: previous high or low of the day and previous session liquidity. And then obviously, if we do pull down and we want to consider longs for later in the day, such as in the New York session, then we want to validate the substructure high by having a 4H candle wick lower than the previous wick. I also want to mention that we must remember that should a secondary leg begin to be validated from this 4H backing, it's not wise to ignore this just because we don't have the substructure target. Rather, you should take it into account and wait for a secondary leg to develop from one of these primary leg OBs right here. That will be part of that new leg that will be generated. Other than that, that's the end of my London outlook, and we'll chat again for the New York outlook.